when I found out that he was supposed to be the one that handling our case, I knew he didn't do it.
Tonight, News Channel 5 Investigates uncovers new questions about a job created for Nashville DA Glenn Funk, and now even lawmakers are asking, what did he do for your money? The answer, according to the family at the center of the only case that Funk was paid to handle, not much.
Our investigation first revealed how Funk arranged to have that job created for him 2 months before he took office to sweeten his pension and give his family health insurance.
News Channel 5 Chief Investigative Reporter Phil Williams tracked down the key witnesses in that case.
This is a little girl. Her name was Tatum Marie.
Of all the pictures of the great-grandchildren Harold Grider once cuddled,
But right there, now that's my favorite.
this may be the sweetest.
That's a selfie that I took. She was standing up at that steering wheel, and oh, she was so happy, and I love it so much.
Grider's granddaughter and her husband, Nicole and Jason McKinney, thought they were in the process of a private adoption of 2 children. First was baby Tatum.
Just my heart felt like it was busted open. I looked at the little old thing. She was so pretty and sweet.
Joined a month later by her 3-year-old brother, Daniel.
And I'd go over every day and play with her. We'd get down on the floor and do things, and it was obvious she was starving for affection.
But then after the family had cared for them for a year, the woman who they say had promised the adoption, Murfreesboro lawyer Carla Ford, suddenly showed up to take the kids back.
I cried till there wasn't any more tears to cry, and I did everything I could do to think of.
That's when Grider says the family discovered that Ford never actually had custody of the baby. Tatum had been placed with her as a foster child. A Department of Children's Services investigation later concluded that Ford had pocketed more than $6,000 in foster payments, while the McKinneys, not Ford, were caring for the baby. Grider began pushing for her to be prosecuted. The special prosecutor appointed to the case was Glenn Funk.
I got paid $2,000 a month. And that qualified me to be in the state pension system as of June.
As Glenn Funk first admitted to us, that was the only case assigned to him last June as a part-time prosecutor for the Tennessee District Attorney's General Conference. It came 2 months before he took office as Nashville's DA, all part of that plan to help him boost his state pension.
If I'm given a job and I do it, I don't understand really what the real issue is.
So what did he do for the $4,000?
Talked to a number of witnesses, talked to the district attorney's office in Murfreesboro about their background because it was a case referred out of there.
He did not interview any of our witnesses. I've called him and called. He didn't interview us. He didn't interview my granddaughter. He didn't interview anybody that we had on the list. And we had, 25 or 30 names on the list to be interviewed.
So he was getting paid to work your case, right. And you never heard from him?
Never heard a word.
The current DA in Rutherford County tells me he did have a couple of what he calls passing conversations with Funk about the case, adding, I would not call them serious conversations. And then there's the DCS investigator who handled the entire case.
And so for now,
Department spokesman Rob Johnson said that after Glenn Funk was assigned the case in late June, the investigator had no contact with him that month. In July, there were no calls either. The next month, on August 6th, DCS says Funk did leave a voicemail. The next day, the investigator called back and left him a voicemail, and that was it.
Congratulations. Thank you.
On September 1st, Funk took office and his part-time job as a special prosecutor ended. Finally, on September 10th, Funk did reach the investigator for what DCS says was a 5-minute conversation to brief him on the case. A week later, the DA's conference submitted papers to appoint a new special prosecutor.
What work did he do while he was employed?
Last week, when current conference leaders presented their budget to the Senate Judiciary Committee, Senator Mike Bell wanted answers.
Is there any way to know whether he did work? Is there any accounting? Was there any timesheets? Was there any forms that he would have filled out to show that he actually did some work?
I can't answer that question.
I was shocked that they didn't have the answers and that they didn't know it was coming.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
That prompted the committee to delay approval of the budget to give conference officials a week to come up with those answers. As the meeting adjourned, an open mic caught the reaction.
how are we going to find that out?
I don't know. We're going to have to, though.
He received $4,000 in taxpayer money to do work, and so far I've seen no evidence that he did anything in that 2-month period.
Now, just before our first story aired, General Funk told his staff in the DA's office that he was preparing to present the case to the September term of the Rutherford County Grand Jury when he was taken off that case. That grand jury met the first week of September, but as you heard, he never talked to the DCS investigator until a week later.
So, Phil, then whatever happened with the case?
Well, and eventually a special prosecutor took over, and last month Ms. Ford was indicted on theft charges for taking money from the state for services she did not provide. She recently entered a plea saying that she is not guilty of these charges.
And what about the children? Did the family get them back at least?
Well, they tried, but unfortunately for them, they were not successful.
All right. Thanks so much, Phil. Now, we reached out to General Funk, and he did not dispute any of our findings. He said in his statement that he remains willing to help out on the Carla Ford case if needed. The Senate Judiciary Committee may have more questions when it meets tomorrow afternoon.